Okay, so today I wanted to talk about form in general, like how important is form, what does it matter? Um, the answer is, well, yeah, it matters a lot, but it's very situational in terms of when form matters and when it doesn't. Um, so, like, for example, we've got sort of pretty basic stuff like, like what a squat should look like, what a deadlift should look like. We know that when you do a squat or a deadlift that you shouldn't be, like bending super far forward, that your back should be as straight as possible. You shouldn't be, rounding it or anything like that. But the thing is that then people get sort of like all these like, okay, well, what are the exact cues for getting the perfect form down and all this stuff like that, and that is so pointless. Like, chances are that that doesn't even matter for you. Like, unless you're already like a really high level lifter, like, like that kind of crap doesn't matter. Like, if you don't already have like your own style and you haven't been lifting for a few years, um, like asking someone else how exactly they do it and like, exactly like how they feel in their lats and like, all this kind of garbage like that, that's not that important. And like, another thing is that, people sort of, like, oh, well, you have to have perfect form or you're going to injure yourself. Well, again, yes and no. Like, when we have like these motions, these bigger motions and they're really heavily loaded and you're pushing yourself to a max, then yeah, you can hurt yourself if you got the wrong form. But the fact is that that's not most people. When I'm training people in the gym, the vast majority of people never actually get to do a one rep max very often. I've got a guy that I've been training for a year and a half, and I've never had him do a one rep max because that's just, there's no point for him. It's not in line with his goals. I'm making him stronger. Yeah, I'm trying to get him stronger, but there's no, he's not competing. He's not a power lifter. It doesn't matter what his one rep max is. Um, so he keeps getting stronger, and that's great. But I never have to have him, really get up to 100% intensity. And yeah, like sometimes his form is a little off, but if you're not, like pushing yourself too hard, in general, that's not a problem. Like if you see someone, doing like a 45-pound deadlift, they're deadlifting the bar and they've got really shitty form. Well, okay, who cares? They're probably not going to hurt themselves. It's not that heavy. Guys, I'm talking about. I mean, women, strength standards are a little bit different, but um, it's just silly to get, so hung up about these things when people, are not really putting themselves in any danger, when it's not really, important yet what they're doing. The first thing, the most important thing is to get people moving, and then afterwards you correct that sort of stuff. Once they stick around, once they get better at it, that's when you say, okay, well, now that you can handle it a little bit more weight, now that it would be a little bit more dangerous for us to have you lifting this kind of weight, with bad form, why don't we start to, we tighten up the cues, make sure you're getting better, and etc. And then if they really wanted to compete, or if they really wanted to, like actually be a world-class athlete, then yeah, that's when you really start laying on the, here's exactly what it should look like and stuff like that. But form doesn't matter, like to that extent for a lot of people, and so that's why we have, like a lot of people like, just kind of like guys, who are just like kind of like just looking to really get themselves into the gym and looking for some basic exercise tips, and we're giving them all this, garbage about like, the right ways to breathe and to, like mental images, all of these things, and I've seen a guy who literally he's got his cues are so complicated that he's like imagine you're screwing your feet into the floor, and then you've got to twist your torso this slight way, and then twist it back this other way, and then you've got to, like pull your lats in, and you've got to, like make sure that you like you're pushing up through your arms when you're squatting and all this other stuff, and it's like, what does it matter? Like get someone squatting first, as long as they can squat, that's what matters. And another thing that's important is like the concept of cheat reps, or like doing reps that with bad form. Um, this is going to sound like blasphemy, but they really don't matter that much when it comes to isolation movements, very small movements like bicep curls, triceps extensions, like maybe even shoulder stuff a little bit. Simply because, it's such, like, the way, like, large compound movements work is very different from the way smaller isolation movements work. And smaller isolation movements actually sometimes benefit from cheating because you can add more weight in, and then that means that you can stress the muscle a little bit more, versus, cheating with a heavy compound movement, like cheating with a squat or a deadlift could, really hurt you. So, like, yeah, like people doing, bicep curls with really shitty form in the gym look like idiots. But, like Arnold was really big at cheek curls, like, lots of bodybuilders do. I mean, you see a lot of these pro bodybuilders, and they look, like their form looks gross. I've seen, guys who, like, they can't row without, just bodybuilders can't row without, like, doing tons of, like, hip extension in the process. Um, but that's fine because you're just working out tons of you're adding more weight in. You're working out a little bit of lower back muscle alongside your row, which isn't a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. It's not hurting them certainly. And another thing, of course, is that as you get stronger, as you get more skilled, as you've been doing this for more, your body is more able to handle this sort of stuff, and you're less likely to injure yourself. So even then, as you get stronger, that can help correct your form, or it can help, reduce the emphasis on form. It should be emphasized that everyone has their own different form. There's no one perfect way to squat. There's no one perfect way to deadlift. And while we have sort of a basic template to go off of, everyone should add in their own unique variation on that. Everyone should do what feels natural for them, because oftentimes, that's what's best for you. I can't squat at all in with a high bar. I discovered after squatting high bar for 2 years, I found that I could squat low bar so much easier, and I was like, oh, that's great, and that that necessitated some changes in my form, but I can squat more than I ever could before. So yeah, form matters, but it's very situational in terms of how it matters and what it matters for. So I hope that helps some people. We get way too many people arguing about, just, keyboard warrioring over, like all these little minutia on form that just doesn't matter. So, hopefully that'll open a few minds. But anyway, talk to you guys later. As always, rate, comment, like, share, subscribe, talk. Tell me what you want to hear.